Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I am Nick Scheist, and you may remember me from the Scheist Podcast and Bad Movies We Love.
And I'm Seth Vargas of the Movie Friends Podcast.
And we decided to join forces, a team-up, if you will, because X-Men 97 was so good, we just couldn't help ourselves.
That's right. So join us as we discuss our personal history with the comics, the films, and the collectible trading cards of the X-Men universe.
And, of course, the catalyst for it all, X-Men 97. To me, my ex-friends. Get it out.
Oh, yeah.
What's up, buddy? Good to see you again.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You're a busy man. Busier than me today. I had leisure time, at least. I went to see a movie. You've been recording all day long.
I've been recording all day. Did an episode on Clifford, which was a joy. Did an interview with a director, which was an even greater joy. And now we're here to talk about Extinction and...
Yes, so time to get rid of all of the joy and bring it back down to, an extinction level event, like an asteroid colliding into the planet. Yeah, so either you're super warmed up or you're super exhausted or some combination of both.
Oh, no, I'm ready. I'm ready. It's warm, but I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, it's episode 10 where we've reached the end of our road so far, but don't know what the future holds, or maybe the past.
Oh,
I'm clever sometimes. But yeah, this is episode 10. This is the Tolerance's Extinction Part 3, the X-Men 97 Season 1 finale. And we sort of jump right into the end of the previous episode, but a little bit of a blank spot between Wolverine getting his bones ripped apart or stripped of their adamantium, and we just start here and we're back in Magneto's mind. So sometime between the end of that very brutal ending to episode 9 and this episode here, Charles has taken control of Magneto, and well, he hasn't quite done it yet when we start the show, but he's done it enough to where they're in post-war Germany or something, having a drink in lab coats.
I wasn't 100% sure what war this is supposed to be, if this is a totally fictitious event, but yeah, we're post-war or during war, and they're in this bar, and Magneto has no idea what's happening. And so I think as the audience, you might not know if this is a flashback. The first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this is when they met or something. Yeah.
And so I kind of had that same perception here, but it made me ask very technical questions of this. Okay, so if it is not a flashback, this is a glimpse at when they knew each other. But in this version of the X-Men universe, did they meet and become friends without knowing one another were mutants? Or because this is almost like astral plane, dream state, is it just familiar enough for Magneto to accept that this seems like reality, where Charles can have this conversation with him? And, they kind of get down to brass tacks about kind of the issue at hand with, well, what has always been the case with the two of them. They're the split in their ideology, because they're very, very much both pro-mutant, but how they go about that is very different. And I've always I don't know if it's going to come across the way I want it to, but it's always seemed to me like they've been written as sort of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, in that, Charles is very much like a pacifist and Magneto is very much a proactive activist, in the sense that he will always take action in favor of protecting mutants over people. And Charles is very much about coexistence. And so to bring them back to their younger years, have them in a pub, having a drink, I don't know if they're both scientists. I don't know what's happening with the lab coats, but it at least helps them stand out and be identified. But they have this conversation that Charles is more or less asking him, like, don't you think that if you have the ability to help and to make the world a better place, don't you feel that it is essentially your moral obligation to do so? And, Eric counters with, like, people don't want to be better. Like, they already think they're the best at everything. So there is his view is that there is nothing in human nature that sort of looks beyond the now into the future and wants to be better. And I think there is substance on both sides. And it's what makes both of them compelling and interesting characters. But I'm curious how you took that.
Yeah, one of them is a realist and one of them is an idealist. And in my experience, a lot of times, very good friendships come from those two camps. You would think that people would congregate with people who think exactly like them. And for the most part, people do. But I think that honest people and intelligent people also like to be challenged and not just be surrounded by people who are saying yes because, of their influence or their position. And so Magneto and Charles makes so much sense to me. Like the fact that they're both trying to do the same thing just in different ways. It's probably how they would see it. Where Magneto is like actively trying to kill people and or just hope that they'll all disappear one day. His goal is for peace. Like he's looking at a peace beyond the battle that's currently happening, where Xavier is saying there doesn't need to be any battle. Like if we lay our arms down, they'll lay their arms down too. And Bastion later on in the episode gives an idea, which is they would rather, I can't remember exactly how he says it, but basically like they don't want to have children like us and they would rather kill themselves or kill their children than have their children be like us. So it's an interesting way to kind of start the final episode. Like I said, I think that they're playing on us, trying to get us to think that this is a flashback, but it's been action, action, action for the last 2 episodes. And now here we are literally in the middle of several battles. And then we just stop to kind of reassess and remember the two philosophies that are at play. Like, why are these battles happening? Well, it's not a battle of wits between Charles and the US president. It's still between Charles and Magneto. And Bastion is just kind of an extension or an extreme version of Magneto to me.
Yeah, he's like someone who was maybe like cast in the mold of Magneto, and then in Bastion's eyes, even Magneto is too nice. And he's like, nope, we're going to wipe everybody out. And we're going to just like everybody's going to be infected with the techno organic virus and we'll live forever in harmony without people or mutants. So, yeah, I mean, it's very extreme. But, this dream world that we're in is quickly shattered as Magneto begins to realize once again that this is not reality. And he tells Charles very frankly, something that we've said many times on this show, is that this is a violation. You are inside my mind against my will, you motherfucker. And he's not wrong at all. And then Charles basically like, yeah, I will puppet your ass if you don't listen to me. So it got me thinking, like, if these guys are really friends and, you have Charles essentially like professing how much he loves Eric and like wants him to sort of be able to accept his ideology and live by the way that Charles wants him to live. But if he doesn't, Charles will take it by force in this instance. And I feel like it's a very interesting moment in the show in that Charles, like being a pacifist, doesn't really do things like this very often. And so for him to be like, "You're my best friend, I love you, and I'm going to mind rape you right now really bad," and like he has to do what he has to do in that moment. So it's like he's almost crossed over into the threshold of like, you are now what Magneto said you needed to be in order to get the job done. So it is an interesting curve for Charles, and like a dichotomy between the belief systems that we've seen set up to this point.
Yeah, and it's a little I don't want to say surprising, but Magneto is like, this is a violation. It's like, well, the world is going to end in a matter of moments. So yeah, sorry, Magnus, but yes, this is a violation, just as you are violating the right to life of every being on the planet currently. So yeah, sorry. And we do get to that point before Charles kind of breaks in. And honestly, I wish it didn't have to come to that. Like, I don't see why. I get it. Like, Charles is not trying to act as God, and he's not trying to be like a fortune teller. He's not a fortune teller, right? He can read
Correct.
your mind, but he can't tell the future. And so if he lowers himself below his standards and character for something that it turned out he didn't need to, Cyclops could have just blasted somebody, then, to him, he's forever changed. And so it comes down to the very last moment possible before he actually acts. And that's like a little frustrating because, as someone who is a pacifist myself, I also recognize that there are times when you need to act and you need to do something. And it's not always waiting until 11:59:59.
Yeah, it's a very interesting moment in the trajectory of the show, especially because like Charles is not heavily involved until much later. So to bring him back and to have him be the one who takes control of the ship at that moment, turns the power back on Earth, and to have it still not matter in the way that he thinks, I think sort of proves Magneto's point in that like you're a pacifist, but you completely violated me and mind raped me in order to turn the power back on the Earth. And then what did you do when you flipped the lights back on? They shot a bunch of missiles at us. So he's like, I fucking told you, Charles, you never listen. You're so firm in your own belief system that it's like he enjoys the chess match with Eric as long as he's winning. But oddly enough, when we see them play chess like in the movies, it's Eric that wins most of the time. And you know, in the current, well, the series that just ended for the X-Men, it's a much different version of Charles where he's got basically like a villain curve. Like he starts the story as like the Xavier that we know, and then as mutants have found independence on their own nation and they're trying to like put their own laws and stuff in place, there's a series within the series that Sabretooth has killed a person, which is like violates the mutant code. So they extradite him to Krakoa, and the way that they punish him is that they bury him in the earth like while he's awake. And so he's just like tortured for like eons or whatever. And I don't really think it ends up like being that long, but like he's just awake but held prisoner, like, and his mind is just racing and it's interacting with the earth. And so it's this whole consideration of like consequences and like what punishment looks like. And it really sort of makes Charles out to be a lot colder of a character than he is. And like he gets a lot of pushback from Cyclops in this series as well. And again, it was Charles interacting with Moira, where he has this idea that, oh, Moira actually showed me like the truth. She showed me all these different timelines. And so the real way for us to move forward and to win in the end as mutants is to work together. So I'm recruiting Apocalypse, Magneto, Sinister, like all my enemies, we're getting together, we're going to be on the same page. And that's like the whole catalyst for this current run of X books. But it still holds on to this idea that like Charles' belief system is so rigid and that his unwillingness to acknowledge that like he might be wrong about things comes at a cost. And so it raises the question, like, is the cost worth it? And in the case of like a villain like Sabretooth, who is a murderer and has done a bunch of horrible things, like, is torturing his mind, is torture in general, like something that Charles Xavier would generally be okay with? And I think the Charles that we first meet, probably not. But the Charles that's maybe a few years down the line from this guy that we see in this episode, maybe, you know?
So in that storyline, is Charles the one who's like keeping Sabretooth alive? Like, doesn't he need to eat or
Well, I mean, I guess like because he's like Wolverine in that way, I assume that his body will heal from malnutrition to some
Wow,
degree. But yeah, he's just like held alive, like in a living prison
that's
underground,
crazy.
and his mind starts connecting with all these other people that are like in this prison as well. And they form like this crazy jailbreak. And it's
Nice.
the one time sort of in the course of that series of books where it's raising questions about the morality of how Charles treats fellow mutants in their new world. Because the
Right.
whole thing was like, we're equals here, like we all have to work together. And of course, there has to be some sort of system of punishments, but a lot of people go to him and they're like, Charles, this is too far.
Right.
You know? So
Yeah, I
interesting.
think so. I think so. That sounds too far. Yeah.
It does. And I mean, speaking of being held hostage, we get this line from Beast as Bastion has captured basically all of them. I think it was episode 9 where we're left at the lake or the
Hmm.
river where Cable has been mind controlled by Sinister and he's telekinetically fighting his not mom.
Right.
And so we kind of pick up there. The Sentinels show up. They've got Storm and Beast and is it Nightcrawler? They got a bunch of people tied up. They have an audience.
Right.
And Beast sort of lectures Bastion about his philosophy and saying that like these Sentinels, this isn't your family. Like these are people that are held hostage by ignorance and fear. And he's right. And I think, that is a statement and a sentiment that goes beyond, obviously, like Bastion and what he's doing here. I mean, it speaks
Yeah.
sort of to uh, not the mindset, but the practical application of like dictatorships, and that, you're not really ruling with admiration. You're not really ruling with consideration. It's just, yeah, it's fear mongering and ignorance, and that keeps you in power. And you're sort of Bastion, at least in this case, is he's muddying the ideas between, hey, this is my family that I've created because I was rejected by you guys, the X-Men family, which turns out to not be the case even.
Right.
We realized that Charles like reached out to him and it was like, yeah, your mom thought you were a dirty little fucker or whatever. So she's the
It
one
went
who
to
didn't want you to be part of the X-Men.
it went to his spam folder. He didn't get the message.
The future email spam folders are much
Yeah.
better about filtering things. But we see like how big of an event this is, in the sense that like this is we're mostly getting told the X-Men story, but it's like, oh well, look, there's Iron Man and Captain America and
Yep.
Silver Samurai and Omega Red, and like this is a global level event that's happening. And I guess I'm curious what you think, because we see Captain America interact with Rogue. So, do you think that generally speaking, like Iron Man, Spider-Man, like all the heroes from the MCU that we know, are they generally aware of the existence of mutants on this scale? Because it's like they would probably know Magneto because he's very infamous and he flies around in a pink and purple suit. He doesn't
Right.
try to hide. Where the majority of the X-Men are like, hey, we go on sort of like secret missions and we operate in the shadows so that we're not in the spotlight. So I'm curious, like, do you think this is the way that the the Marvel universe is going to like bridge the gap between what we've seen so far and this new cartoon? Because this is still taking place. Well, when was Iron Man? 2000, 2005, the first one?
2008. I
Okay, so
think
this is
2008.
still pretty far away from that portion of the storyline, but we are seeing characters that we're familiar with in roles that we're more familiar with them, in that, Cap and Iron Man are hanging out with the president. Like, oh, well, we're here to like basically protect you.
Right.
we'll fight the mutants if necessary, but like
Advise
maybe season
you,
two.
perhaps, you know, like,
Yeah, they have a lot of access. I'll say that much.
yeah. Yeah, I guess this is just a different universe where everyone is there already. And I mean, we even see a very, very brief Reed Richards, you know, as Morph transforms into Mr. Fantastic as he's being blown away by the blast. So, yeah, it seems like this is a world where all the characters are already there and they're already all interacting. I'm not sure anymore how they're going to bridge all this stuff. Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out in a few short weeks. We already got a little bit of it with the ending of the Marvels. We had a little bit of X-Men crossover
With
different
Photon
universe and yeah. So I'm curious if there's going to be like one big, because it seems like for the last phase, all of the stories have been about like different dimensions and different timelines. So each time it was like, oh, okay, this will be the one. Like, actually, no, not at all. And then, oh, Loki season 2. And I was like, not really. So I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe they're just never going to actually.
We're never getting back on track.
No. And you know, like I said a few episodes ago, I think that that's fine. I say stop making movies. Give us a Captain America cartoon just like this one, and I'll be more than happy. If it's this good, you know, I mean, yeah, I'm not like down on the Marvel movies. I enjoyed the Marvels, I think, more than most people. I thought it was a very funny movie. And but this is one of the better, if not the best things that they've put out recently. So I'd like to see them move in this direction, honestly.
Yeah, and I think, well, number one, I enjoyed the Marvels too, and I know a lot of people hated it and like hated it a lot, but I'm like, look, it's different than the thing you hated before. They're taking
Right.
chances. It's colorful. Like, yes, there's like a musical dance number in the middle, but I'm like, I like all these things because
I thought it was fun.
if nothing else, like if they're gonna fail differently than they failed the first time. And
Right.
I really felt like the chemistry between the three characters was important to that version of the story. Like I think it helped Carol's Danvers character a little bit more to have that dynamic with the three of them going on. And so for what it's worth, you and I both like the Marvels. So for people out there that are like really hesitant, I would say check it out. The second part of that, I think that the X-Men in general just lends itself to good storytelling, and it sort of like holds up a mirror to society in a way that I think that maybe other Marvel products just don't. Like I think the thing that we see, or the thing that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 sort of hangs its hat on and why so many people love it, is that moment with the train, in that like he's just a teenager but he's willing to die to save all these strangers, and like the realization that they see that is what gets them to all stand up. And it's like that's who Spider-Man is, that he's just a kid and he's here risking his life to save a bunch of people that really, for the most part, in a lot of different instances, don't like him, because you got Jameson out there, like, you know, putting out his gossip rag. Spider-Man's like a purse snatcher and all this stuff. So like the media is very anti-Spider-Man in a lot of the universe, but the people aren't. So I think the X-Men, you know, you sympathize with them in a way that is easier to do than a lot. Like, how do you sympathize like with Iron Man? It's like, okay, yeah, he got captured by terrorists and he had to build his Iron Man suit, and like that part sucked. But then after that, it's like, yeah, what does he say? He's like playboy, billionaire, philanthropist, superhero. Like he just jokes about like all his accomplishments, and watching the curve of like America's obsession with the tech bro and Tony Stark's popularity, and then sort of like how that cascaded down as Captain America's like Boy Scout nature elevated him back up. They collide in Civil War, and they actually have some interesting ideas present in Civil War. And it's kind of like even in the comics, that was a big story and an important like ideological struggle. And I think that's, that's still even borrowing basically from X-Men. It's like you have a Charles and a Magneto figure that have very different ideologies of how to solve this one problem. And they're best friends and they love each other. But like, all right, we're going to kick each other's ass to see who's right here. And so it's funny that it sort of like boils down to that because it is at the end of the day superheroes. So of course they're going to fight. Um, but yeah, the X-Men just it has such a rich, I think, inherent culture to it that it makes it very easy to latch onto. And so whether you're telling just the story of Xavier and Magneto, which like X-Men First Class kind of leans into that very heavily, successfully so as well, whether you're telling the story of like Jean and Scott and Madeline and like however far you want to go down that line, there's like a lot of familial ties and they have a very beautiful moment in this episode where it's like, why am I getting like choked up at this cartoon? And
Oh yeah. Oh
it's
yeah.
it's amazing. Like they, I mean, for the people who have seen it, Cable is like resting at a diner, like wounded. His arm has been ripped off at that point.
He's like, I'm done. I'll see you guys. I guess I'm gonna go sit over there.
Yeah. All right. Well, hold on. Let's backpedal a little bit. We'll finish the Nathan and Jean conflict as they are like he's being puppeted by Sinister. Bastion shows up. Cable gets his arm ripped off in that whole exchange, but he is sort of he's getting violated by Sinister as well with the mind control, and Bastion is like teasing him about like how many times did you go back in the past and try to save your not mommy or something like that, and he doesn't want to answer, and so Sinister forces him to, and he like says like 200 times. Like he's made this jump 200 times trying to stop this from happening. And like that in of itself, give Cable a miniseries where it's just like the struggle of him failing over and over again. And then finally getting to a point where it's like he's now arrived at the one timeline where he might be able to do something about it. And it makes Cable a very compelling and interesting character. And then, it's like, oh, the Phoenix, just there's a slight ember of Phoenix left in Jean and conveniently shows up when the X-Men are completely overpowered and getting their asses kicked. And I love that moment as Storm just like laughs. She's like, you guys messed up so bad. Like you didn't know. And now the Phoenix is here and she's going to rip all of this stolen DNA out of Sinister's body and turn him into like a little shriveled raisin. And I think Morph has a lot of fun showing him what he looks like there.
I love that as the Phoenix returns and Sinister is being like pulled up to her, he's like, oh, do you think peacocking will save you? he goes on for a little bit, but then Phoenix doesn't kill him. Phoenix takes the peacocking from Sinister, and then Sinister just kind of like goes like, ugh, and like runs away. Like it's a bit like the Zoidberg, like whoop, 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 like it's insane. It's a crazy way to like finish this character for the whole season after everything that he's done and like how we've seen him, that he's just like, oh no, and walks away. Like it's crazy.
I think we miss out. Yeah, I think we miss out on Sinister's vanity, which in the comics, when he gets room to breathe, like he's a fantastic character in this new series because he is so vain and he's so petty. And so that would make this moment for him where he's like obsessed with staying young and looking youthful and like being the best possible specimen and like having all that taken from him. And then it just ends with Morph like, teasing him as he runs away like a shriveled old man. And so they're like, he's not really a threat anymore. And, after all that, that's when Bastion rips off Cable's arm and he like turns it into a squid or something and then absorbs it.
Yeah, he absorbs it because that's what he does. He communicates. He has like
that's true
machine telepathy. Yeah. And he's got this like seed from the future, and so Cable is also from the future. So this metal, I don't know that we know what Cable's arm is made of. Future metal, I don't know. but it's like the
Space
last
titanium.
Yeah, it's like the key to unlocking final level Bastion. And I'm not a big lover of this design, honestly. Like it feels like, yeah, like the final transformation of a boss in like a fighting game. Um I do love when he gets his face blown off and he like comes up and he's like all gooey and icky and reforming his face. That's pretty great.
Yeah, he does like, he fights Rogue sort of like right after that. And we get to see Rogue like really pissed off again, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she really beats the crap out of him for a good portion of time until eventually, like, he has the confidence to stand and fight in a meaningful way, takes advantage. And then, of course, like the whole Charles and Magneto thing is still going on throughout all of this as they're, trying to figure that out. And we get this line from Charles. He's like, "You have to trust me." And it's like, these are big words coming from a guy who's actively inside another man's mind. Like, come on, you got to trust me, bro. I'd like, Charles, are you hearing yourself in this moment? And so that's why, to me, I'm like, I'm curious if they're going to push it all the way to the point where like Scott is disillusioned with the X-Men and he ends up, I think he kills Xavier in the comics at some point because of a clash of ideologies. And then Scott becomes the main villain. So I'm curious if they're going to push it all the way there, because I think that's a little beyond the 97 series timeline, but it's not that far off either. And with the time traveling that's happening, who freaking knows at this point? They could do whatever they want.
Yeah, well, we'll get there, but
yeah. And we have the president. He's opening the Magneto dossier, right? It's what they call like the Magneto protocols or whatever.
The Magneto protocols.
Flips it open. And I love that it looks like the back of one of the old X-Men trading cards with all of like the power stats. It's like, oh, Magneto's got intelligence of a 7, but it's got a power of a 9.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, why you have his agility listed here? Like, this doesn't make sense. He's a 60-year-old man. Like, he's not relying on his agility at this point. I just love the little Easter egg that they threw in there, because for all the kids that grew up collecting those cards, like turning it over and seeing like, oh, how did they rate my favorite character? Like, what's their energy projection? What's their intelligence? What's their charisma? All that stuff was a lot of fun. So, I can pass on it, but I'm like, yeah, this was presented to the president of the United States.
Right. Yeah. Give me some. This has no luck stats on it.
Got to roll a 20-sided
for
die.
luck stats.
Yeah, and so we get Bastion. He flies up. He's pissed at the X-Men. He wants to destroy Asteroid M. He's essentially said at that point, hey, it's going to be an extinction level event. I'm going to grab this asteroid from the atmosphere and hurtle it into Earth, which he doesn't really do. He's just in there to like blow up the gravity drive or whatever that glowing orb is.
Yeah.
Very sciencey.
It's always so pathetic to me, the idea of an asteroid destroying the planet. And I know I know why it would happen. It's not just get impact.
Angry emails from a bunch of dinosaurs.
Well, it's like, oh no, a huge cloud that blocks out the sun. Oh no, false winter. And like, it's just like, all right, this giant planet can't handle a big rock hitting it.
It can. The people just can't.
Right.
I'm gonna get a bunch of angry scientists
because it's
writing
like,
in emails to the show.
Like, yeah, okay, all right, like, Magneto asteroid, Magneto comet, like, it's big, but we're up there. We see how big it is. It ain't that huge,
Yeah, well, it's like as all of that stuff is unfolding and it's like it actually is starting to fall. Okay, like Jean's not strong enough to stop it. Rogue's not able to stop it. The combined might of her, Storm having like a funneled tornado is not strong enough to stop it. But then Magneto, who, by the way, still has 3 gigantic puncture holes in his right lung from Wolverine, is just like, oh, I just woke up out of this assault on me by Charles, and Magneto lives, and I'm going to grab this asteroid, and we're going back into the atmosphere. I'm like, wait a second, like Jean and Rogue and Storm together were not strong enough to stop the descent, but Magneto just sees, oh yeah, well, I built this thing. So of course, like the metal is dialed into my frequency perfectly, and it's easy lifting for a wounded 65-year-old.
Well, I mean, they do have the benefit of being uh, in space, and so there's not as much gravity.
Yeah.
I've always wondered with Magneto and like with Jean, more so Magneto, like you can manipulate magnetic fields. So does that take like physical exertion? I understand mental exertion. Like if you
Mhm.
want to say, okay, yes, this has like a big toll on you, but like at what point do their muscles come into play? Because Professor Xavier, his legs don't work. And so he's not exerting those muscles at all. And he's, the most powerful mutant on the planet. So it's like if Magneto can manipulate magnetic fields, would this be a struggle for him at all? Is it just something that you turn on,
Yeah.
And if it isn't, or if it is, then you would think reversing the entire magnetic charge of the planet would have like killed him, but because yeah, you see Jean throughout this series and she's always like, ugh, ugh. And I'm like, what's the problem? You're doing this with your brain. Like, does it hurt? Do you feel it?
That's a good question. And I know the way that like Sue Storm has been portrayed in the past and in the movies was like her, I mean, she's essentially creating a telekinetic field that either bends light around her or creates a force field. So not too dissimilar from Jean. And she has displayed like, oh, my nose is bleeding from doing this. Like it's a strain on my
Mm-hmm.
physical brain to be
Yeah, the
able
strangers
to
thing.
do this. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So with Jean, I always feel like her ceiling is very high, but she's also maybe because she's like splitting the difference between being telekinetic and telepathic. It's like both of those muscles maybe work differently. It's like leg day versus arm day.
Right.
And and so maybe it is exerting for her because like her mind has to interpret the weight of an object that she's trying to stop from falling and then focus on that. But then like, we saw her like casually just like separating a river, no problem, while like
Right.
sifting through her memories. And sure, an
Right.
asteroid is probably heavier than a river, but it takes prolonged concentration. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does require some physical exertion because we see, like Scott too, as he's fighting Bastion in this, he's going toe to toe with him, which is pretty cool considering Scott just has like, laser eyes and Bastion is a flying future robot with all kinds of weapons. And
Right.
the fact that like Scott can even hang is pretty, complimentary of how skilled in combat Cyclops actually is. And yes, it's not really lasers, it's concussive beams. I know that. And we see that moment where they have what I like to call the hose battle, which is in Harry Potter, it's in Godzilla, it's in basically every instance of anything that's ever been put on a screen where there's two energy sources competing. They meet in the middle and there's this tug of war of who's got the stronger energy. And we see
Mm-hmm.
Scott like just clench his ass cheeks together and say, like, you're never gonna mess with my family again. And he yells and he focuses
Yeah.
harder, and then his eye holes explode and
Yeah.
blast Bastion into the wall. So that does seem to require like physical exertion on his part. Granted, I mean, he's doing like
Sure.
flips all over the place too, so he's probably just generally tired and fatigued because he's a
Right.
human being. But I guess it depends, because I've heard Nightcrawler being interpreted as like the greater distance he travels, the more tired he gets. So it's
Hmm.
like him teleporting a bunch of short distances is like quick, like sprinting. Whereas when he has to like sprint a mile or something like that, it takes a lot out of him. So I'd be curious to really like dive into the details of everybody's individual stuff because, you get people like the Hulk where it's like superhuman strength and stamina and durability. And it's like, okay, but like they're all superhuman. So where do you draw the line on any of
Well,
those things?
when Jubilee is rocketed out into outer space and then she's just
Low
fine
orbit atmosphere.
and like smiling. Well, right. So she's not burning up. She's not gasping for air. She's not freezing. Like, no, it's just as if she's, you know,
They borrowed from the Superman 4 playbook in that one, where you can just fly into space and casually have a conversation, do some flirting.
Yeah.
As long as
Yeah.
there's a flying man to catch you, you're okay.
And I mean, Sunspot is warm, so okay, fine. But yes, yeah. And anyway, we can move on. But I'm just curious as to like how all of this works. But
I would just think it probably comes down to like your power set, because like Forge's mutant ability is to like be able to craft whatever machine he can imagine, right?
right.
So like he'll
Does
get
that tire him out?
well, probably like the building of it, but not the thinking of it. I mean, we all
Right.
get tired of thinking at some point, so maybe he's just got like a higher threshold for like, oh, I've been envisioning it's too many machines today. I need to take a break and have a nice hot bubble bath.
I can't remember where I heard this, so I'm not going to claim it as my own. But like, I remember someone at one point talking about Cyclops and how Cyclops, in addition to his concussive beams being a superpower, he would also need to have like a super spine. Like in order
head
to
would just come off.
Yeah, because the first time you blast, your neck would just like snap back. And so with like some superheroes, it's like, well, his superpower is flight. And you're like, oh, can he also breathe at very high, altitudes? Does his blood pressure get all messed up by going up and down incredibly fast with no protection? So yeah, but anyway, sorry listeners. I'm not trying to make superpowers realistic.
I think like there are ways to begin to explain it if you really like give it the time. But yeah, at a glance, it's like if you were to turn on a fire hose while holding it, like that thing's going to jerk all over the place. Right. Like even if you're strong and you're holding it in place, like it's not going to be held perfectly in place. So yeah, Cyclops, maybe would have killed himself the first time his powers activated. So maybe he is just born with like super neck muscles, it's just part of his powers and we don't get to see that side. I did read, excuse me, there was an interesting sort of debate about like where Scott's powers are coming from that was going on like years ago on the internet, and different writers had interpreted it differently. And one of them was like, it's not that his body is absorbing this like solar energy and then discharging it through his eyes like a gun, basically, right? It was more that like his iris is an interdimensional aperture, and as it opens, there is like a chaos dimension of just anti-gravity, and so that is what's coming out of his eyes. And so it would make sense then if that when those particles connect with this dimension, they're causing like graviton collapses, and then it's just like more concussive force the further you go from him, and there's no pushback in the opposite direction. But then his iris would have to be closed tight at some point all the way, like down to zero, which doesn't happen with people either. That was later explained away, but I like that there. I like that explanation, and that like, yeah, who knows? Like he's just a gateway to another dimension in his eyes. Sounds fun. Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, go for it. You don't need to explain it too much to me.
So I'm not sure where we're at in the episode.
Well, we are talking about Cyclops, and we just finished our Cyclops Bastion standoff toe to toe.
Okay.
And so,
because I think we were getting to Nathan in the diner.
Yes. So that comes right basically after this. Is that in the middle of this whole fight going on, like they're getting tired, and Scott and Jean are like, we got to call Nate. So hold on, let them fight Bastion for a minute. Like Beast just showed up with his Sentinel to do some stomping. So let's make this phone call real quick. And then they have this very like sweet, honest, emotional conversation with Nathan about the regrets of Cyclops walking out of the room. I don't want to do what my father did, and I shouldn't have let Madeline send you into the future. And, I'm sorry, and I want to say goodbye. And, Cable is telling him about like, yeah, when we were living in the future, there was all these stories about the adventures of the X-Men and the great heroics that these mutants did back in the 90s. And it doesn't do you guys justice. And so to like for him to see his parents in action and be like, holy crap, like the X-Men were like legit. My parents are awesome. And to like to sort of close the loop on this kid that was essentially orphaned into the future, grew up without his parents, grew up in the shadow of the legend of his parents and their friends, but never having the chance to meet them, to then go back in time, not only get to meet them, but to then fight by their side. We get that very sort of just honest admission from Cable, like, I should have been here fighting those battles with you. Like, I should have been part of the legend growing up as your son.
Right.
And so it's like just very emotionally resonant with me in a way that like I don't know, I'd seen it already, so I guess I didn't expect to like really feel it as much as I did a second time, but maybe going through this entire story with these characters again, having Cyclops be my favorite X-Men and all of the baggage that comes along with that, to see him have that moment with his son was really nice, honestly.
Yeah, it's very touching. And there's a moment that we had referenced when Nathan was born, when Jean says, "Oh, he has your eyes," and then that comes back around, but it's much more sentimental because Jean holds back his blast so that Nathan can see his eyes for the first time, and they are the same eyes. So yeah, it's pretty well written, and I don't think it verges into being corny. I just think it's good writing.
Yeah, I mean, like in a world where like all these people are wearing, colorful spandex, and Scott's got like, knee-high boots that look like the fisherman's hat has been shoved onto his foot, and Jean's got the 60s decor outfit with the mask and the gloves and the short skirt. Like she looks like a go-go dancer or something. So like in the midst of all that, to sort of like pause like we do in the beginning of the episode to like remind us that even in the midst of all this action, there's a lot of human stories within the context of this mutant superpower world. And it's like, I think it's trying to successfully, by the way, show the audience that like even with all this stuff going on, like the human stuff is what's important here. Like, because think of like how fast we blitz through all of the stuff in this story. Like, we blitz through the Sentinels, like we blitz through Mojo, like they destroy Master Mold, like in what the first like 5 minutes of episode 1.
Right.
Like they're going through these big X-Men stories like very, very quickly. Like the Phoenix just like comes back, says hi, helps out for a second, and then is like, oh, whew, okay, well, the Phoenix, it was still inside me. It just needed a little bit of help, a little motivation when called upon, and now it's gone again for good this time. Like, I promise there's no more Phoenix inside me.
That was pretty funny and totally unnecessary. Like, you can just be like, oh my God, that was crazy. Anyway, there's other things to talk about. But she's like, oh no, definitively, it's done. In case anyone's wondering, that's the end.
It's like we did the Dark Phoenix saga in the previous show. We're not going to do it here. But just to remind you all, like I do have some Phoenix juice when I need it. So yeah, we get like all of these big superhero story ideas going on, including like the whole last episode is, hey, there's an asteroid about to crash into the planet. We need the help of everybody to try and stop it. Humanity and their own hubris is like, yeah, you know what is a good decision? Let's launch missiles at that asteroid, and then oh wait, we didn't blow it up, so now it's plummeting to Earth. And that's when we get the line from Bastion about like, yeah, they're so stupid that they would rather all die together than see a future where they're giving birth to more mutants. And so again, like further down the line of like the Magneto ideological progression, where it's like you will never be accepted by people. And I love that that still is like the through line for the X-Men, because even in the end there, Scott is like, stand down, team. We're going to show you mercy. We're going to show you humanity, for lack of a better word. And we don't want to have to kill you here because you didn't ask for this to happen to you. You're a victim of circumstance. And sure, we disagree with your methods and we're going to stop you, but we don't want to be the people that like just outright kill our enemies. And we are still willing to take the chance on Earth if you'll help us save the planet by stopping this asteroid. And so we get this moment as the missiles, I think, are flying into the gravity drive or whatever. And shit is blowing up in the asteroid. And Scott reaches out his hands. He's like, Bastion, take my hand. Come with us. And Bastion is still being stepped on by the Sentinel, I think, at that point. And he jumps and he like sticks his hand out, but there's an explosion and it like cuts before we see anything. So do you think Bastion was reaching for Scott there? Because we don't see Scott. It's not like the classic, what is it, Da Vinci painting where like God and Adam are about to touch fingertips. This is like Bastion is jumping. We see his hand reaching out. We see Scott had previously reached out his hand, but then they cut to like a side frame where there's an explosion on one side and Bastion on the other. And so I'm just curious, like, do you think he was like, yes, I want to come with you at that point?
No, I think that he's actually fleeing because Jean puts the bubble around them.
Mm-hmm.
And then she starts to put the pieces back up into the roof, and he flies through that hole before it can get closed. I don't know exactly what he's planning to do, because if he doesn't stop the asteroid, Earth gets destroyed. So where are you going to? You know,
just
you can fly through space, I guess. Which, you know, he could be doing. No, I think that I took it as he rejects their offer. I thought that their offer was insane and stupid. Bastion comments earlier on as he's fighting Rogue and Sunspot. He's like, it's ironic, but Charles' students never learn. And here it is. They're all impressed because Bastion is like lifting up the leg of a Sentinel that Beast is driving. Meanwhile, we've seen them all dispatch Sentinels like it was nothing. Yeah. And this is like prime Bastion. And he's like struggling. He's like, ugh. And they're all like, oh my God. And Nightcrawler says, like, as Bastion is lifting up this boot, Nightcrawler says, he truly is the future incarnate. And I'm like, really? That's what is impressing you right now?
His face didn't even heal back together this time. Exactly. He's running out of future juice.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm just like, take him out. Like, Scott, like, everything is at stake. Everything is at stake right now. And like, you're wasting time.
And he gets zero pushback. Storm's just like, great idea.
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, let's. So yeah,
Storm's like, yeah, of course you're right. Let's show him some love.
Yeah, let's have him join the team. But
basically,
yeah. So my question to you was, do you think that Bastion dies? Because he's going to be my follow-up. We see him get enveloped in an explosion, but he's been in explosions before. So
I'm going to say no.
Yeah,
because you've shown us people dying in the show. Mm-hmm. So if you really wanted to like let it be known, even in the explosion, like just show his body disintegrate or something. Yeah, like it's just a big flash that blinds us. And it's like, you're also telling us that, yeah, well, that asteroid is like getting zipped into other timelines by somebody. Maybe Nimrod, who knows at this point? Like that could be season 2 future stuff, which I hope it is, because Nimrod's a lot of fun.
The Beyonder.
Could be.
You know, we could be setting up for some Secret Wars. You never know.
Very much so. So there are a lot of options on the table. I'm going to say Bastion makes it through and then maybe becomes an ally. Like, you know, very precarious ally in the next season as he's healing up, or maybe now that all his Prime Sentinel family's dead, like he's got no one to talk to, and so the X-Men are like, hey, you can come and hang out with us. You know, Charles wanted you from the beginning, and like, as long as you don't try to kill anybody again, like don't try to take over the world, don't do crazy shit, just you know, help us go fight dinosaurs in the Savage Land, and you can be part of the team.
Yeah, I took note of who was where at the end of all of this stuff, you know. And they do make a big point of pointing out that Colossus is still on the Earth and not dead.
Love it.
And then Bishop comes back to talk to Forge. And so you've got this kind of perhaps metal technology future man group that Bastion could join up with.
The metal militia.
Sending these metal people. We know that he took Cable's arm, so he's got future technology in him, and so maybe he'll be utilized. And that Bishop speech is, I don't want to say bad, but it is so weird and out of place to me.
Yes.
It's so silly.
Just casually strolls in there. Oh, you don't know me yet, but you are going to know me. We know each other in the future. I'm not even going to introduce myself, by the way. I'm just going to start telling you what's what and hope that you don't shoot me because I'm an intruder and you clearly have access to like pretty powerful technology when you want it. But yeah, I guess he's just like, well, look at the uniform, like
that's
blue and gold, duh.
He
like
just
we're
walks in wearing the same thing, and then he's like, well, this isn't the first time that we've done the X-Men are dead rodeo. And it's just like someone or something or someone has pulled them through time, and now we got to go rescue the X-Men. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's so weird because like you just went through all these different emotional moments and things, and the whole Magneto lives and they explode, and then it's just like kind of maybe undoing. I don't know, but it takes the air out of the sails a bit, I think.
Would it have been better as like a post-credit scene? Because they didn't do any of that throughout the show. If you leave us on sort of like the solemn note of, hey, we as the audience already know that the X-Men are alive in another timeline, do we really need the Bishop Easter egg at the end to like spell it out for us? Well, it's not so much a matter of where as it is when. Be like, yeah, we saw them in ancient Egypt and in the future. So like I feel like you've already spelled that part out for us, but I do like that Bastion line you mentioned about like X-Men students like not learning. And then Rogue is like, she sees people on horseback with like Egyptian headgear and she's like, where could we possibly be? There's sand everywhere. There's very clearly Egyptian idolatry going on. And like, I think in Nightcrawler too, like, oh my God, where are we? It's like, you couldn't even guess.
Right. And as in terms of that Bishop speech just kind of being unnecessary, like you show us Egypt and it says 2000 AD, and then you show us the future and it says 3960 AD. We don't need for Bishop to say that they're lost in time. We know that they're lost in time from the text. That's it. That's the explanation, And I guess they wanted the cliffhanger that they wanted to leave us with is and Sabanur, Beast saying, oh dear.
Oh dear. Beast is great with that. It's just like when something bad's happening, Beast just like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Which it's like, obviously we know who that is, and anyone watching who doesn't know can just hop on their phone and Google it and know right away what's going on. But that's just something about that Bishop scene. I was like, this feels so out of place in this TV show. Not to say it's bad, but it's corny. It's weird. It's really, really weird. So we've got, like I said, Forge is left on Earth. Sunspot is left on Earth. Jubilee is left on Earth. And then all the people on the wall who aren't presumed dead or off planet. Bishop comes back. Maybe Bastion is somewhere. And it is 6 months later. So you would think if Bastion like immediately returned to Earth to take over again, we would have known. And then in the future, you just have Cyclops and Jean. And then in the past, you got Rogue, Nightcrawler, Beast, Xavier, and Magneto, and Apocalypse.
Yeah.
pre-apocalypse days.
Yeah, well, we kind of also get Nathan in the future, but it's a young Nathan.
Yes.
And the Cable comic that ran this past year was a lot of like old man Nate and young Nate. And there was a lot of that family dynamic going on as well, with like the young Nate getting to spend time with his dad and doing hero shit with his dad. So it was fun to see that like more fleshed out, which is probably why going back and watching it this second time, I was like, I really appreciate them, taking the time to lay out that sort of like parental need in that way.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but we've met Bishop before in this series.
Yeah.
Forge has not. So it's like I think, all the people in the know that Bishop's from the future. We've seen him literally like go back to the future with Nathan.
Yeah.
So when Forge is like, who could this possibly be? You would think that like he would have some information on like, hey, I'm recruiting X-Men. Like, I don't have any details on like the time traveler guys that showed up and were hanging out and like teaming with the X-Men while they were working here. But I am excited to see that future world version of this. I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with Apocalypse, because
and like I said, it's like you have Nathan before he's Cable, and you have En Sabanur before he's Apocalypse. And so will both groups try to prevent that person from becoming the person that we know them as? Will that be successful? Why? Who pulled them through time and for what purpose? Like, does that person need Cable out of the way? And so they send they send Cable's parents in order to stop that possible future.
Put them on a timeout,
Apocalypse? Yeah, do they need Apocalypse out of the way? And so I don't know. It's interesting. I like how they end it. I don't need really any further explanation, like I said, beyond the titles. And I'll be curious to see if like Beast is carrying around Xavier like Yoda and Luke all season next time around.
He should.
I'll be curious. He should, absolutely. I'll be curious to see, like, now that Scott and Jean and Nathan are like separate, we can spend a lot more time with them. And so that's exciting, because they've had so many like missed connections and misunderstandings and like, oh, I need time apart, but the world is ending for the 5th time this week. And so hopefully they can kind of spend some more time on them.
Yeah, just family quality time. Like, even if that involves like fighting bad guys, that's fine. But I want them to have their moment. It's complicated because it's like, that's not Jean's kid technically, but it's her husband's kid with her clone. So like, it's still your blood and DNA technically, which is why he's, as gifted as he is.
Did you see Storm? I'm just realizing I didn't write down where Storm is. I don't think I saw her in Egypt.
Interesting. I mean, I know that like Forge was very sad when things transported, because he's like, oh no, my lady's up there.
Yeah.
And he's on the walkie-talkie like screaming, right?
Right.
So yeah, I thought maybe Egypt, but it seems like you put a lot of your eggs in that Egyptian basket if that's the case, because
right. Oh yeah.
the whole team is there except for Jean and Scott.
Right.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I just watched it again and I thought I maybe saw Storm, but I didn't like note down where everybody was. So somebody, if you're listening to this, you've probably watched this at least twice at this point. So check it out. You let us know how wrong we are. But yeah. So that leads me into at least one of my questions that I had for you that I said I was saving for this finale. So I want to know, like, what do you want to see from season 2?
It's a great question. I would really like to see, now that Magneto has done his whole thing and Charles is back, I would really like to see the two of them trying to run the school or a school or just kind of anything. Like, give us time with the two of them together more often, because throughout this final episode, that's some really great stuff, when Magneto is saying like, I can't remember the face of my family. Why can't I? And in that moment, it's almost like he doesn't realize that he's like in the the body of a man. Like it's like he's a kid again, right? And he can hear the boots of the soldiers. And Charles is like, it's because they died when you were really, really young. And like he doesn't even know his name. And it's all very interesting. And I would like to see them work together more, even though after everything that's happened, I really can't imagine the governments of the earth are going to forgive Magneto again.
That's why they shoved him several thousand years back in the past, so he can deal with the government of Egypt.
Yeah.
Which probably not going to take too kindly to them either, but at least they're going to be super overpowered, more so than usual.
Right. So yeah, I would love to see that relationship between Charles and Magneto, and where it goes from here. And just again, give us more time. I don't need for there to be battles and fighting. The choreography, the fight choreography throughout this whole season, we've commented on it several times. It's amazing. It looks great. It's some of the best, like, blocked and choreographed superhero fighting ever that we've ever seen on screen. And the physics all feel right. You know, sure, Jubilee blasts Bastion, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah,
I would like an explanation of Jubilee's powers, perhaps, in the next season. And then this episode ends with we see Daredevil and Cloak and Dagger, and we see tons and tons of people quickly. Doctor Strange is in there.
Doing surgery. Not even doing Doctor Strange stuff, doing normal stuff. Still working.
Well, I mean, you know, there's no electricity or anywhere.
True.
So he's
enough.
like, well, these people need me most, I suppose. Even though it's like, Doctor Strange, can't you stop this asteroid? Like, I know you're trying to save one life, but perhaps you and the folks.
Maybe he was still in apprentice mode at that point. He's not quite the Sorcerer Supreme.
Maybe. So yeah, I would like to not necessarily see a whole bunch of more crossover stuff because there's so many characters in X-Men. You know, we already mentioned Colossus. Let's get Colossus in there, and Scarlet Witch.
Some Juggernaut would be good.
Absolutely. Yes. When Morph turned into Juggernaut for 5 seconds, I was like, yes, please give us more. But in their absence, while the X-Men are, you know, in a different time, I'd be curious to see what happens, because since this is like an X-Men show, you know, it's like, oh, the world is still trying to come back together in the absence of the X-Men. It's like, but there's all these other superheroes, like
just slightly maybe pre-Avengers. I mean, probably not really, but I mean, they didn't announce it openly. We didn't see the Hulk out in the world. We didn't see Thor. We saw Morph turn into the Hulk. So like maybe we're not quite at Avengers level yet, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind some other characters getting sort of like Captain America style cameos where, like, if they're really going to do the Spider-Man animated show the way they're doing this one, it would make sense to have Spider-Man guest star at least on an episode or two, or have some crossover, because, you know, I mean, the X-Men school is located in New York, so they kind of would cross paths anyway at some point. I want to see the Nimrod story so bad because of how dangerous Nimrod was in this current comic run. And it's coming from a place of like the stories being told from the future looking backwards with like Nimrod has won. And so they're like, okay, well, we need to make sure that all of these things in the past don't happen. So it's like Nimrod is the one time traveling to the past in order to stop certain things from changing so that he can stay as the winner. And he's teamed with humanity at that point. So it's like AI and the humans have teamed up to fight mutants. And I really just felt like that was compelling because of how adaptive Nimrod is in an AI and with the current fears surrounding artificial intelligence and just how hot it is in pop culture in general. I think it's a really, really opportune time to do that storyline. I think my follow-up question would be, let's do some fan casting.
Sure.
If we were going to turn this into live action, if like we're going to snap our fingers and then this X-Men becomes part of the MCU universe, who would you go to for like Charles at this point?
Ooh, that's a great question.
We don't have to start with Charles, but we can.
I want to very quickly mention, because I made a point of trying to keep track, Morph and Wolverine are also on Earth still.
They are. We're going to see Boneclaw's Wolverine in season 2, most likely.
We can only hope.
And we will likely see him torture himself to put the adamantium back in as well.
Right.
So we're going to get some brutality with Wolverine, but I mean, that's kind of goes hand in hand.
So for Charles, how old do you think that Charles and Magneto are at this point?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this earlier because, we're looking at Eric as maybe going through like Holocaust,
right?
So he was maybe 10 in the 40s and this is 97. So he's probably at least in his 60s, but he's in phenomenal shape. We'll give him that.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. He looks a lot younger than Eric too.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I would say that they're probably both at least in their late 50s, early 60s range. I mean,
okay.
You could just throw McAvoy back in there.
I know, right? By the time they get back around to it.
Right.
All right, so let's see here. Let's see. For a Professor X, let's go crazy. No, that's not good. All right, for Magneto, I'm going to say, I was going to say this guy for Professor X, but it's just not right. For Magneto, I'm going to say Christian Bale.
Ooh, he would be a fantastic Magneto, and he would have so much fun with that.
With the long hair,
yes,
and the intensity, the superiority. I feel the superiority is something something that he can pull off quite well. Wow, for Professor X, it's so hard to think of him as anyone other than
Patrick Stewart or James
Patrick
McAvoy.
Stewart. Yeah. Like bald guys, some bald guys in Hollywood. You got J.K. Simmons, but I mean, J.K. Simmons, Professor X, he's not going to be a pacifist.
No. How would you feel about Stanley Tucci?
Wow. Sassy Professor X.
Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean,
sure.
I could deal.
There's nothing that says Professor X can't have a personality,
You're right. No, Professor X. You do not get to be a person in this. You just have to be bald and smart.
How about, okay, this is crazy. This is like also really crazy. And he's maybe getting towards the right age. A bald McConaughey for Professor X.
All right. I mean, if we're doing bald, we might as well just go with like Woody Harrelson as well. Do McConaughey. Yeah. Do McConaughey as Magneto. He can pull off the long hair. Do Woody as like a stoner Professor X.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Magneto is very importantly and famously Jewish. And so McConaughey could not actually happen. But if he could lose the Texas accent, I can see McConaughey doing Magneto. Yeah, it'd be crazy, but
it would.
That's okay.
Okay, well, let's go to like the primary OG X-Men. So let's go Jean first.
Jean Grey.
I guess we got to like peg down an age range because let's say they're 35 to 40.
Okay, so I actually just saw you saw Maxine recently.
Yes.
And I was reminded of the wonderful and underutilized, in my opinion, Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah.
A lot of people know her from, the Mission Impossible films.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so pleased to see her show up in Maxine. And I was like, you are great. Like, you're not super, super flashy, crazy, over the top, but she grounded a lot of scenes in that movie that needed to. And so I would maybe say like Michelle Monaghan for Jean Grey.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I think she's like right sort of in the age range that we'd be looking for. I mean, skew a little bit younger probably, but if we're dealing with like a Nathan who's 10, She doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm 30 and getting pregnant. It's like she can exist as already having had the kid. I like that. I think because of Karen Gillan being involved with Guardians, maybe not, but
Karen Gillan is my favorite person on the planet. Put her in anything.
I wouldn't be upset with her taking on the mantle of Jean Grey. I think in an alternate universe, maybe if we dial, I think she might be a little bit out of the age range we're looking at, but Kelly MacDonald.
Kelly MacDonald. I don't know if I know her.
She was most recently in Puzzle. She spent a lot of years on Boardwalk Empire as Nucky's object of fascination.
Oh, I love Kelly MacDonald. Yeah. Scottish.
Mm-hmm. Maybe she could be Moira. She could be Moira McTaggart if we were going to do that. So we'll throw her in there too.
Can I give you an updated crazy Charles and Eric? Okay. So as Charles, we're going to say Willem Dafoe.
Oh my God, that would be so wild.
And as Magneto, I'm going to say this would have to be like old man Magneto. Christopher Lloyd.
Wow. Very old man Magneto. I mean, you're going to have so much charisma between those two performances, though. It's going to be hard to do.
He's a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah, I don't know how we move on to like anything else beyond those two characters, because I think Willem Dafoe showed in Kinds of Kindness that he's got a lot of range that he doesn't really get appreciated for. And he can be very measured and very intellectual and very commanding when he wants to be, but he also enjoys having fun. And when like you listen to him get interviewed, it just seems like he's a very fun person. So I mean, they would be a lot of fun. Okay, so we'll stick with Michelle, and then we got Kelly in at Moira McTaggart, because then she's a little bit closer to like the correct age for a love interest for Charles as well. Okay, so Scott, who's gonna be Scott? We need somebody in the 30s to 40s.
So I don't know that he's the right height for Scott, but someone that I always really appreciate seeing, and I'm always like, why are you not in more things, is Jim Sturgis.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most people would know him from like Across the Universe, or he did that 21 movie, the card movie. And yeah, he might be skewing a little too old, and too short.
Yeah, he's 46 now, so not too far removed. I mean, if we're gonna go like super duper star power, I mean, like Jake Gyllenhaal is in that same age window. I mean, it depends. How much money do we have to fan cast this? Like, if we were doing a fantasy draft, we would have already used all of our budget to hire all these actors.
Put Jake Gyllenhaal in as Beast. Let him hide, and just do the talking.
I mean, like, yeah, Patrick Dempsey, like before he was like fully gray the way he is, would have maybe been a good Cyclops. And I think like Bradley Cooper's maybe in the right age range, but I don't know if he has enough mileage left for a Cyclops performance at this point. Everybody seems to really hate him after Maestro.
Hey, if you want someone with great charisma, throw Sterling K. Brown in there as Cyclops.
Do it.
He's definitely the right height.
Yeah, I love Sterling so much. He would absolutely kill that role. So
yeah,
I would have no objections. So let's see. We did Jean, we did Scott. So who are we gonna go with for Storm?
That's another one that's so hard to not think of Halle Berry.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like she got just the short end of the stick so much in those movies. Like, she really was not allowed to be like great in those. It was a shame.
Yeah, she was sort of cast aside as a secondary character when it's like she's like the only Omega level mutant that's in the club at that point, and she gets to have like the one line where she's like struggling through the accent and zapping Sabretooth with lightning. So
let's see, for Storm, what's the age range?
I mean, she's got white hair, so it's tough to tell. I feel like she presents a little bit older than Scott and Jean, so I would say like 40 plus, maybe.
She's very she's definitely very regal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Well, it'd be kind of cross Marvel casting, but I love Teyana Paris.
Yeah.
I obviously, saw her in the Marvels and WandaVision and everything. She's incredible in Chirac, the Spike Lee film.
Mm.
Like amazing, all of the stuff that she does in that movie.
Yeah, I could see
So
maybe like
maybe say her.
yeah, I mean
She's younger though. She's younger.
true. I know if I'm thinking of like actresses that are around that age, I would think maybe like Kerry Washington or
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody else in mind and lost it, like Rosario Dawson, you know.
Sure. Sure.
Think, but again, like we would be totally like blowing our budget on A-list talent. So this is going to be the emotional X-Men with no special effects. It's going to be all of them just having their character dynamics flushed out for 2 hours.
I would love. Did you see the film Mass?
No, it was on my list of like things I really wanted to see, and it came and went in theaters so fast, and then like the ball just kept rolling, and it came to VOD, and I never saw it. That's the one where they're like talking about school shootings, like at the table.
It's so great. It's just
I'll check it out.
great actors and just talking,
doing some acting.
And whenever people talk about like, oh, different ideas for superhero, what could we do? I always go to that type of movie, just a one location, have them talk, but there's this superhero flavor to it and pressure but like give them room to breathe and act and develop their characters. Yeah, I would love to see like 12 Angry Men, but as like the Avengers or the X-Men.
The 12 Angry X-Men.
Yeah. And people would watch it. You can have such a small budget. You're paying basically just the actors, and give them a time loop problem to figure out. They're stuck in a room and there's a time loop. Okay, boom.
Yeah, no, I mean I think that works too, because it's like you don't even have to explain like time passing or anything. It's just we're caught up in some, like, who knows, Bastion is back and he's trapped us in a time bubble because he's got some tech from Cable's arm and he just locked us in this bubble and we got to talk our way out of it. It's totally doable. Okay, where do we leave off? Let's see, we got Storm. We can't forget everybody's favorite, Wolverine. Who are we gonna go with as Wolverine?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Daniel Radcliffe fan casting that's been around forever.
Yeah, he's the right height. He doesn't age the way that other people do, so you don't have to deal with that technicality. Wolverine, that is, not Daniel Radcliffe, but maybe he's not aging fast either.
Oh yeah, Daniel Radcliffe, he still looks pretty good. But yeah, for me, like, I would love to see, like, if we're talking realistically, whenever they do cast the new X-Men movie, get all new people. Yeah. Just get all new young actors. Maybe have done a few things before, but blowing all this money.
That's what. Yeah, it's a fantasy X-Men draft. So
I remember. I don't know if you remember when Hugh Jackman was named.
Yeah, it was like, who's Wolverine? That guy?
It was kind of like, that guy, like Kate Leopold. I don't know if Kate Leopold had even come out yet at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not.
He was in, I think he had done The Boy from Oz on Broadway before that casting. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was kind of like him, huh? Interesting. Okay. So yeah, if we want to go like just weird, weird little short guys who have a lot of passion, throw me Barry Keoghan as Wolverine.
Yeah, that would be fun. And I don't know how we deal with like the accent hurdle at that point, but If he can just do like a Canadian accent, it's like, okay, well, Wolverine's Canadian, and like if you just get close, no one will ask too many questions. If we were skewing a little bit younger or waiting 10 years, I would maybe say we could even throw in Daniel Bruhl for Magneto's role.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, German actor, just lines up very well. Very intense guy, but he's also been an MCU villain already, so you kind of like don't want to recycle. But yeah, he's got the look. He could even do Wolverine. You know, he's got that menacing intensity. But okay, so we've got a few knocked off, but let's do Jubilee.
Okay, so Jubilee. Let's see here.
She would be younger than everybody, but
she's super young.
But we could get away with like, hey, maybe this is a few years down the line from the 97 series. We'll say in her 20s. And, you know, even if the actress is 26, 27, well, you know, they can skew younger plenty.
Right. All right, let's see here. I don't watch a lot of things with like young people, you know? So like
who are all these kids these days?
Let's see here. B. Oh, okay. I know a movie that I watched that has young people in it. Hold on one second. Havana Rose Liu from Bottoms.
Ah, okay.
Yes. She was great. Very funny. Very, very funny in that movie.
Okay.
Probably. Yeah. And she's only 26, so I think she could do it.
Yeah. I think the first name that came to mind was Jessica Henwick, but she was she was in Daredevil. And she was also in, I think, the newer Matrix that everybody hated except for me.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's 30 something now, though.
Yeah.
So I think she's skewed out of our target demo for that. So, okay, we got Jubilee, we got Storm, we got Wolverine, we got Cyclops. We got to do Rogue.
My first thought was Amy Adams.
Okay.
Probably because she just did that Southern movie that everyone hated.
When was that?
Oh man. It's like on the tip of my tongue. The director of Apollo 13, Ron Howard. Yeah, that's it.
Woman in the Window?
Oh, Hillbilly Eulogy.
Oh, yeah. That was 2020.
So when I was thinking about someone with a Southern accent, I immediately went Amy Adams. Yeah, I don't think that she would quite be right for Rogue. I don't know. How old is Rogue? It's a great.
Well, they brought back the original voice actress for her, so she's older than like a lot of the other cast. But they brought back Rogue. Excuse me, Lenore Zan. She voiced Rogue in the original series, as did, I believe, not Beast. Carl Dodd did Wolverine, so he came back. And I don't know if Jennifer Hale did Jean beforehand as well. But yeah, because of Rogue's ability to like absorb people's, you know, energy, her age could range from, I don't know, she could be in her 20s, she could be younger than everybody, she could be older than everybody. I mean, she was romantically connected to Magneto, so I would say she has to at least be in the 40 plus range.
All right, I'm going to say Megan Fox because I love her so much and she deserves a chance.
Okay, I could see that. And you know what? Like having seen her in Johnny and Clyde, which just is like definitely a bad movie I love, but
Yeah.
to watch her sort of be villainous was a lot of fun. And so if we're doing sort of like Brotherhood of Evil Mutants where Magneto and Rogue are romantically connected and we're going to go that route, I could accept that. Uh
Yeah.
Morph,
She
I
just did
don't know.
Expendables,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So,
I was going to say casting Morph is going to be a little bit tricky because of the face.
right.
Like, doesn't have to be anybody in particular. You just have to get like the personality down. That's you could do Barry Keoghan in that role because it doesn't matter. Like, who knows what kind of accent he has? He's Morph.
I would, who I would do for Morph? I would do a bald Tim Heidecker.
Yeah, I mean, somebody who's a comedian, I think, would probably have a lot of fun and success in that role. So, yeah, I could get on board with that. I could get down with some Tim and Eric too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll accept that. And
Yeah, then
then
put Eric as Beast. Eric Wareheim as Beast.
Oh man, I was like, we had done an episode and I forgot I had watched the Miss Doubtfire musical, and then afterwards I was like, you know what? Like Robin Williams would have made a great live action Beast
Oh yeah.
back in the day. So that
Yeah.
he balanced the intensity and like the intellect so well. He would have been
Yes.
fantastic, and like he already had like the bearded look and everything. So if it wasn't Kelsey Grammer at the time, I think doing
Yeah.
Robin Williams could have like made a lot of difference for the sort of lesser X-Men movie in that way.
I can definitely see Robin Williams at the end saying, "Oh dear."
Yeah, so can I. I mean, he's great. And I guess the only one we're left with casting then is Sunspot, if I'm correct.
Sunspot. Let's see here. Because he's also like a kid,
Yeah, probably
right?
figure 18 range.
Oof, man. Not good with all these children.
These youngsters. It's like my first instinct was like Diego Luna, and I'm like, no, he's way too old.
Yeah, way, way, way too old.
And I think
Let's
so is
see.
Rodrigo Santoro. I mean, he's not that much older than me, but he's too old to be Sunspot, that's for sure.
Anthony Ramos is aging out, but I've
Okay.
appreciated him in everything that I've seen him in.
That's fair. I mean, even in a Transformers movie that had its struggles, like he was
Sure.
not the problem with that movie. I'll give him that. So yeah, he's what, probably like close to 30 at this point, if I had to guess. We'll just say Ramos, and like I can be okay with that. Maybe if he breaks out into song,
Well, I mean,
he must.
if you're paying for Ramos, yeah, you're going to get a song. Absolutely.
X-Men the musical. It'll be a whole different fan casting process, though. Okay, I think we've spent $150 million on just the cast, and we've got no budget for travel, location shooting, anything else like that. Is there someone who you would want to see direct a live action X-Men?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question. Personally, I would like for these movies to be more scary.
Okay.
We've done the comedy thing for so long. Like, give us, and I'm not. I don't think that they need to be more adult or necessarily like super gory, but like fear and tension has to kind of re-enter the equation, if you ask me. You know what I mean? And a director who I think pulled that off incredibly well while also balancing a smaller ensemble, but a few times, is Ben Affleck, with Argo and The Town. We know that he likes superhero stuff.
He was
And
Daredevil.
he was like,
He's going to cameo in the X-Men movie as Daredevil. I'm super on board with this now.
yeah, like Ben Affleck is very talented. I think as a director, like he might not be incredibly flashy, but he knows how to make a movie and he knows how to get the stuff that's going to go into the edit that's going to make a good thrilling movie. And so, yeah, I would maybe say like throw it to Ben Affleck. Let him try it behind the camera.
Yeah. If we want it to be like taken seriously and like breathe intensity into it, that's not a bad choice. I'm going to counter with something in the completely opposite direction, say Paul Verhoeven.
Oh,
He would
absolutely.
make a wild X-Men movie. It would be
Absolutely.
gory as hell. It would be very darkly funny and sarcastic. And I think his sort of penchant for like social satire would work really well with what the X-Men just is. He would never do it at this point in his career, but man, would that be fun.
Yeah, I mean, and this is also kind of like a left field one, but after watching I Saw the TV Glow, I was like, Jane Chambran should do something that's going to be seen by more people, because like the absolute terror that that movie expresses, while also being filled with hope and social messaging. Like, so yeah, give me a Jane Chambran X-Men film any day.
I think that would be a perfect fit for revisiting New Mutants, because they're all like the younger X-Men. You know, Sunspot is one of them. So they're all like on the right at that part where they're like figuring out their identities as people. They've maybe just been shunned by their family. They're maybe like, oh, my mutant power is like I'm inside out. You know, so you see all my organs on the outside and it's not fun. And I feel like I'm rejected by everybody. So I think a property like that within the X-Men would be a really good fit. So yeah, that'd be fun, because they sort of like the potential for that New Mutants movie that existed was so high, and some of its execution is very well done, but it's like they abandoned the horror elements of it to like make it more of a mutant story. And then it was like, it really was going to be much more interesting as like mutants sort of in a haunted house and having to deal with that. It's like, I'm excited for it. And then when we saw it, it was like, yeah, underwhelming, but I probably liked it more than most people. But I generally like movies probably more than most people anyway. So
right.
Okay. All right. Well, now I'm going to give you the final question, the one that I've been waiting all season for.
Oh man.
If you were a mutant, what would your superpower be? Not the one that you want. What would it actually be based on who you are?
Wow, that's maybe it would have something to do with like like, do you mean like what do I consider to be like some like a strength of mine that would mutate into a superpower?
Yeah.
Okay. So it would probably be something like, you know, super team building guy. like I would be good at like, you know, pulling people into projects and helping to encourage people. Because I'm not good at much else other than that, you know. So like I'd be like a Professor X type, just without the you know, incredibly powerful brain power.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. You know, I have two that are like equally not helpful. One is, it's not even like a character trait or anything. It's just when we go to like the supermarket or the movies, or if I'm on the freeway, anywhere where I have to pick a line, I pick the wrong one every time. So if you want to be late to something, just follow my lead. Even when we go to the store, I'm like, don't let me pick the line, because I'm going to pick the one that just I pick it, and then somebody whips out a checkbook and it's like, it's 2024. Stop writing checks at the grocery store. Or I'll pick it and then, you know, the register crashes or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know how this is possible, but it's like a reverse superpower. And then probably the other one would be this idea that's kicked around in my head of like writing a short story about the sonic sneeze, because I sneeze incredibly loud to where my neighbors have blessed me through the wall.
Wow.
And if I sneeze like while my dog is asleep or my wife is asleep, like they will wake up very angry at me. And even when I try to like muffle it, if I like hold a pillow over my face or I jam my face into the pit of my arm trying to stop it, it's still so loud. So it's not a great one, but I mean, like if it was amplified into a superpower, it's like I could deafen my enemies or potentially like
Absolutely.
knock a door off its hinges with a superpowered sneeze.
In this episode, Rogue just claps
Yeah, that would
right
be me.
right right in Bastion's face and just blasts him like 40 feet away. It's a really cool little detail because they could have just thrown a punch in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could be like the reverse domino, like
I'm super unlucky. So you send me to the mission that you don't want. I'm on the distraction mission.
Yeah, like you foil in odd ways. Like you touch somebody and then like they hit traffic and it's like, oh, what happened to that bank heist?
Yeah, or maybe you could send me undercover onto the bad guys team. I joined the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and like they never win anymore.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean that's like yeah, you could be like a combo of like Leech and Domino. That's actually kind of an interesting idea. And like that'd be such an interesting storyline. Like if you did something with like a human government team and like nothing works out and the mutants keep, getting away and they don't know why. And, there's no physical attributes. There's no power blasts. It's just like, oh man, ever since Nick joined the team,
things have been going south.
Right. And so, yeah, like as the character, like in the comic, all you would be doing is just fighting to be around. Like you wouldn't be gathering information. You wouldn't be like, oh no, I need to get the pass key. You would just be like, how do I make an excuse to stay on the team or to be in the room or
I have to be just skilled enough to be part of the conversation.
Right.
It's like, hey, we're having a clandestine meeting on how to destroy the mutants, and it's like, oh, the internet's down.
Right. Yeah.
Nick.
Yeah. It's
over
like
there oozing bad luck again.
Have you ever seen The Bone Collector? This is way off topic, but so yeah, like you're the guy who comes in to like fix all the little health machines, Yeah.
I'm the bone collector in that case.
Yeah.
I'm the bad luck collector.
Yeah, it's an interesting character idea.
Yeah, not overpowered, but occasionally useful.
Yeah.
And then God forbid I sneeze and blow somebody's head off on accident.
Right.
We know something's up at that point. It's a weird power set, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said a few episodes ago, it's like if mutants were a real thing and you just woke up one day and you were like, oh, I can open windows without touching them. And it's like, that's my power? Like, oh my God. You roll the dice and you get that crap?
Yeah. You don't want to end up being that person. You're more like a Morlock at that point.
Yeah.
You live in the sewers because you're ashamed of your mutant ability.
Right.
Cool. Well, maybe we'll see some more Morlocks in season 2, but
yeah,
this is the end of our initial journey.
Yep.
I don't know what the future holds or what the past holds.
Right.
But we may see you in the future. Or not.
Yeah,
I think so.
We'll see. Well, I don't even know what the story or the plan is, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. So thanks for coming on this journey with us. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. I hope you enjoyed the show as well, and you're going to come back to watch season 2 so that maybe when that happens, we'll be a little bit more timely about how we do things. And we'll maybe we could do episode by episode at that point. And, if it's only half an hour, we jump on for half an hour to an hour once a week. Totally doable. So, yeah, I appreciate your time as always, man. It's good talking to you. And I'm looking forward to season 2, both of this show and of this show.
That's right. Yeah, me too. I kind of was tentative about X-Men 97, and then pleasantly surprised and watched it with my kids and then rewatched it several times to do this. So it's been a lot of fun.
And yeah, does it become X-Men 98 at this point? Or does it just say X-Men 97 season 2 and we live for eternity in 1997 where great movies like Gattaca came out?
They tell us 6 months went by. So unless we started this season in January, there's a pretty big chance that we're already into 98. But yeah, we'll see.
I'll be very interested to see if they want to like deal with the branding at all of changing it,
right?
Because they've sold comic books with X-Men 97.
Oh
which
gosh,
I've got those books. So do you want to do an X-Men 98 run? Like very confusing. Right. But now I'm going to read those comics and maybe we can reconvene and do something with that. There's a ton of general X-Men comics, and they're starting the new X-Men comic series that is post Krakoan era. So it's going to be a whole new X-Men adventure, probably like re-teaming a bunch of people and really trimming down probably some of the fat. Not that the storylines are too robust, but you know, on this island you now have thousands of mutants versus like, hey, there's a couple dozen X-Men characters that we talk about on a regular basis, and now it's like, hey, all of these characters you've never heard of before are getting their own 30 issue comic book run. So we'll see what happens. But you know, Legion's a great show too. If we really wanted to like expand the X universe into many different things, I think we have a lot to pull from. So it could be some fun side projects when you and I actually have time to do things.
That's right. That's right.
Cool. All right. Well, you have yourself a good night and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, man.
Of course. Always. Thank you. Thank you for checking out the show and becoming an X-Friend. Hopefully, you'll join us on our journey through X-Men 97 and beyond. X-Friends is a Movie Friends and Bad Movies We Love co-production and part of the Scheist Podcast Network, hosted by Seth Vargas and Nick Scheist. You can find our contact info and socials in the show notes, and you can email the show directly at xfriends@thescheist.com. That's the letter X, friends@thescheist.com. So until next time, just because someone stumbles and loses their way doesn't mean they're lost forever.